welcome everybody. This is Spin Legal, and tonight we are talking about a number of things that are related to the favorite topic of the week, which was Bill 60. And today we're talking about the impact of that bill on municipal laws. So this is a new bill that's just been passed. It's called Ontario's Fighting Delays and Building Faster Act 2025. Now, you'll never go and look at this bill realistically on its own because it doesn't make sense on its own.
The bill is like an omnibus bill, which means the government mixes up with everything. It's a mixture of soup to nuts, and they put it in there, and then they expect everybody just to guess. It's one of those poison pen pills. They put it in.
Well, and actually, I don't like omnibus bills. I like
me neither. Because what they do is they decrease the time that they spend in the legislature to perhaps 2 weeks a year.
Yeah.
Then when they get to that 2 weeks, then they just throw these big, huge omnibus bills, and then they could say, I passed just as much bills as we did when we met most of the year.
Yeah, but in fact, actually, if you want to change like Municipal Act, the Planning Act, or Building Development Charges Act, I think you kind of need to actually go and look at those acts individually and say.
And I think people need to also be consulted, broadly consulted on these bills.
Yeah.
And there's been no consultation.
Yeah.
Okay, there's been no public readings or committee stage hearings.
Yeah.
Which should have been.
All right.
And it just, because there's a lot of things that I have questions about.
Yeah. Let's start where we should with the advert. So if you need to contact Invictus Legal, you can do so on 905-688-5598. Email Angela with angela@weareinvictus.legal or me with peter@weareinvictus.legal or our website, weareinvictus.legal. Okay. And as I said, we're discussing the impact of Bill 60 on municipal laws. And there are various, if you know anything about municipal laws, you'll know that there's primarily 5 types of laws that impact municipalities. You're talking about Municipal Act for one, Development Charges Act as another, Planning Act as a third, Building Code Act and Building Code Act and Building Act as a couple of others. Fire Code Act has no relevance in this particular context. So let's start, if I may, by looking at Planning Act, right? And essentially what the province is looking to do is extend provincial authority over planning decisions. One of the questions that has been raised about that has been about what does the province know about things locally?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Right.
Like Doug Ford still wants to be a mayor of Ontario.
Yeah. And again, with all due respect to Mr. Ford, municipality, we have elected municipalities for a reason. And the reason being, and I was talking to Angela this morning about this, so one can imagine the impact of a small town that's now been swallowed up by some larger towns. And what has happened here is you've got the small town comes along, and one councillor from that small town says, hey, I have an opinion about this new proposed development in my small town. And the other councillors are, I don't hear you. I hear nothing.
Evil, hear no evil, see no evil.
And they come along, they vote for it, and they say, I'm in favor. I'm in favor, right? So the trouble is when we start to develop things on a provincial level, we tend to end up losing local decision making.
Regardless of whether it's a 4-city plan or a 1-city plan. There's differences with each. There are some positives, but the problematic parts probably outweigh it.
I wasn't talking here about changes proposed for like the Niagara region. I was just talking about
right over our heads, because nobody in Niagara region has said, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
It was a letter given to the mayors, a letter dated February 5th, but delivered to them forthwith
Yeah.
on February 19th.
Not really part of this discussion, Angela.
I know. It's just something I have a bone to pick with.
But again, provincial authority over planning decisions. I think what part of the reason this has come about is because there have been some decisions which have left a lot of municipality watchers kind of scratching their head. Why did they say no to such a development when it's absolutely needed in whatever local town you're talking about?
Yeah. Like this is like when they start saying we want to build more housing and on the site of transit. And then all of a sudden they change their mind and say, no, we don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay, what's that about?
Yeah. And okay, so one of the questions is that Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing was no longer required to ensure that planning decisions are consistent with provincial policies outside of the Greenbelt, enabling faster and unilateral approvals. So the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing is getting more authority in this particular thing. Now, I bet it's not a lot of people knew that actually the minister can say, "I'm sorry, city of X, you have no say in the matter over the development that's being put forward for your city." Right? A lot of people didn't know that those powers exist. Now,
And the thing is, people don't realize that municipalities have no authority on their own. They are created by the province.
Yeah.
So now the province just wants to make that clear, which I have issues with.
Well, there are some issues with that, insofar as municipalities are there because they've got local expertise. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
we're located here in St. Catharines, and if I was a Ottawa MPP and I'm sticking my hand up to vote for a change that's going to happen on King Street in St. Catharines, you should very well have concerns about what I'm
I'd
saying.
be jumping on my head and spitting out wooden nickels. I mean, hey, what business do you have deciding what happens in my community that affects our businesses here locally?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the concern that a lot of people have about that kind of thing. Okay, so province is granting powers to prescribe as of right zoning variations and designated lands. So they're looking at the province designating what lands can be used for.
Ministerial zoning orders.
Yeah.
MZOs.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to streamlining municipal planning frameworks. And I think the whole idea about this is that we've had too much discussion of I can do this in Toronto, but it will never get done in London, or it can be done in Guelph, but nobody in Niagara Falls is interested in doing this.
Yeah. Like this is it. It takes a lot of the local decision making away from local councils and local people who might be interested in the issue.
And one of the key factors in all of this has been the complaint, and I do understand it, about streamlining municipal planning frameworks. What they're looking to do is shorten the time taken to make decisions. Because at the moment, I think Doug Ford is concerned with the fact that we've got a desperate need for new housing, that no housing seems to be being built.
Yeah, and it's not just because of the bureaucracy. It's because nobody could afford to pay the damn condo fees.
There's that element to it, but I also wonder, actually, when we look at what is going on around here, you've probably got every building worker in this region hard at work earning every penny they can physically earn.
Got about a dozen of them just working in this building alone.
Yeah, and again, the part of the problem that they face is that you can't put up enough buildings fast enough. But again, are we trying to put up too many at the same time?
Yeah, I think what happens here is they say, "Oh, we got to build more housing. We got to build more housing." Just let the developers go and make a go at it. And yeah, we can do that. And then they're thinking of things like, let's just waive development charges. Let's just waive all this stuff. Somebody's going to end up having to pay the development charges. If the developers aren't paying for it, guess who pays for it? The ratepayers. You and me.
Yeah, we'll come on to that in a minute. Municipal discretion in planning is being narrowed. That's what this whole thing is. And what they're basically trying to do, and I get at the heart of it, what they're trying to do is to say it's one rule that's going to apply across the whole province. You know, whether you live in Ottawa, Guelph, Nipissing, Thunder Bay,
other cities,
you know, or whatever, you will have one set of rules that everybody adheres to. Nice in principle, but again, it's like I like my forked road with the tower on the corner between you know, Maple Road and St James Street. I like that kind of quaint little thing. Now you want somebody else to decide how that's going to be developed.
Yeah, or I like my neighborhood with just a single family homes or the townhomes. Side by side. I like that, but now you want to put a 50-foot tower right in my neighborhood?
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the next one. You were talking about Development Charges Act. Now, the development charges, what they're looking at doing here is Bill 60 is amending the Development Charges Act to modernize and standardize development charges across municipalities, with the idea being therefore that when you go and you pay a specific rate for a specific job, and it's the same irrespective of where you go.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There is provincial intent to reduce the cost of development, and I get that. And in part, that's actually being driven by the fact that there have been developers that have complained that, hey, if I go to one neighborhood, I get a different price than if I go to another neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the challenge, though, that we have with that is, do we really want a situation? There's been a lot of talk about needing to reduce the development costs. But again, part of the challenge of development costs is that development cost is in part put up because the cities want to ensure that the people who are developing whatever it is they're developing are serious about developing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
But they're not just going to put it in there and get a permit and let the land sit there for ages, not a shovel in the ground.
But again, how many cities around the province do we have? Do we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or more developments that have been unchanged for 4, 5, 6, 7 years?
Yeah. St. Catharines downtown is sitting on at least 5 of them.
I can walk around the city of Niagara Falls and I can name 8 or 9 of them. I can point them out to you exactly where they are, right?
Yeah.
I can come here to St. Catharines, and on my way in, there's about 3 of them.
Actually, more, 5 downtown alone.
And I mean, on my way into work.
Into work, yeah. And elite condo developments. I mean, that's you know what my beef about them is.
Yeah. So the next one that has an impact here is the Municipal Act, and the Municipal Act basically is directing changes to the omnibus bill is really intended to focus more heavily on planning and development rather than some of the issues that have crept into municipal politics more recently. The provincial authority is intending to intervene or prescribe processes that might well be applicable to local authorities.
Yep. So they want to sit there. This is what my impression is. Yes, they want to take a uniform standard across the province, so we become cookie cutter cities, or even cookie cutter one cities.
The problem I see with some cookie cutter cities is you just look around. I don't even have to. We can look around this region here where we reside in the Niagara region, and you can imagine in certain scenarios that if we were talking about a single council that included people from Niagara Falls, people from St. Catharines, people from Niagara-on-the-Lake, people from Fort Erie, etc., the person who's at Niagara-on-the-Lake, who's one of 20 councillors sitting on a council, if they happen to make all those decisions in common, says, I have a problem with the proposed development in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And everybody else goes, mama, 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 mama. I vote in favour.
Yeah. And some of these people might also be a conflict of interest. Like they work for the development companies that's proposing to do this in Niagara-on-the-Lake. There's so much stuff. Like I see so much problems with it.
Yeah.
But then again, that's me.
But then again, the challenge here is that there are some councillors who go out and diligently look at every development that they're asked to scrutinise.
Yeah.
They will go and they will look at okay, what is correct on Maple Street? This proposal to build a dozen townhouses on Maple Street. What is behind it? What is the land like at the moment? What will it improve? What will it make worse?
Yeah, so, like some of the councillors that we have now will actually go out to the neighborhoods and invite them to a town hall meeting to discuss the new development and get local impressions.
Yeah. And those councillors are the ones that will go to the actual town meeting, town hall, the council meeting, and will be well informed when it comes to discussing that development. There are, unfortunately, some councillors that break open the seal to the agenda when they come to the desk just when the meeting agenda is opening.
Yeah, so they're just in the middle of unwrapping the envelope and taking the stuff out of the envelope, and then they're sitting down and says, "I'm ready."
Yeah.
They haven't read a single word.
Yeah. And of course, what they then do is they stick their hand up on the city recommendations.
Yeah, and
the only time they don't stick their hand up on the city recommendations is when local people start to say, I don't like this development. It's wrong for my neighborhood. It spoils the value of my neighborhood. It puts house prices down. Put house prices down is about the one thing they'll go, oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll count the number of picket signs as they walk in.
Pardon me?
They count the number of picket signs as they walk in.
Yeah. And as soon as anybody, if people will say, I really don't want this, it's boosting the sales in my neighborhood, making all the houses more and more expensive. I don't want this. The council is going to vote for it every single time. Right? Mm-hmm. If the objectors come in and they say, I don't want this because it's going to reduce my house price, I'm going to have to go into poverty to sell my house. Of course, what's going to happen is councillors vote that one down every single time, won't they? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's better to read everything and understand what the plan is. And all these things are usually publicly available. People should have a chance to read this and be able to contact their counselor if they're concerned about something.
Yeah. Okay, so one of their questions is that they want to ensure that municipal powers and obligations are consistent with the faster approval framework that the province has put into place and established under the Planning Act.
And my question is, who is going to pay for that?
Yeah, and part of the question that we have here is that when it comes down to municipal powers to actually put developments into place, what I can still see that what's going to happen with a lot of developments is you're going to see a lot of hands coming up in the council chamber, and no spades in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like St. Catharines. We're getting more and more parking lots downtown.
Yeah. Niagara Falls is just like that. We've got so many. I can take you, as I said, we've got to take you to so many places where, and I'm sure everybody can look around their local town and see places where
parking lots, because we got plenty of them.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Moving on to the Building Code Act, Building Act and Building Code Act. They're looking at getting, these are not directly impacted at all by Bill 60, but there's no actual changes to the Act, but what is impacted is seeking accelerated project timelines. Right?
Okay. Now, this is a really great thing when you have supply chain issues, when you have worker issues, when you can't find qualified workers. And there's a whole lot of problems that when you're seeking accelerated timelines.
Yeah. Well, I would say right now, I think the problem is getting any form of project timeline on somebody's building.
Exactly, because the people that I talk to who have built things and have worked on building things, they sometimes have a hard time finding the right supplies.
Yeah.
And even when we did something as simple as renovating our upstairs office, we were delayed significantly because they couldn't find the right supplies. And when they could find them, they were more expensive than what they were maybe previously, like a previous year or so.
Yeah.
So this is where a lot of the problems are going to be.
Yeah.
And they have to think of their marketplace. Are they going to be able to build affordably? Builders need to get a profit. Okay? I can't deny that the builders are going to want a profit and they're going to need one. Or else why build? Okay? You're not doing this for charity.
And in fact, actually, exactly that. There are two types of building that I see happening. One, which is for-profit building, where a builder is going to make money out of it. The second is non-profit building, where primarily the municipality is going to be the agency building the homes or building whatever it is that's being built, and there's less of a profit motive in that one.
Yeah, so there has to be some way of balancing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that whatever product they produce, whether it's single family homes, whether it's co-ops, whether it's apartment buildings, whether it's complexes, that sort of thing, there has to be some consideration of the affordability of it.
Mm-hmm.
Affordability, there has to be something tagged to that so people understand that what it means to be affordable. Like something that a millionaire could afford is not something that's affordable for, say, the average person. So we have to look at what the average person could afford, because right now they're selling condos for $499,000 downtown, which was the elite condos that I brought up before. And I was looking at that and I said, that's nice. If they lowered that to $299,000, they might get a few bites.
Mm.
But I think they would get it at $499,000.
I think that's one of the reasons why that particular development in St. Catharines doesn't look as if it's going ahead.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of them aren't going ahead. They can't even put their shovels in the ground because they don't have enough people pre-buying, because you have to have enough pre-buyers to be
Yeah.
able to finance the project.
Yeah.
And then there's usually a financer who would finance the rest of the project for the buildings process.
Yeah.
But it's very when these have these things. There was an article I was reading one time about how it, like Toronto went through a condo bust, literally. Like
Hmm.
nobody was buying condos for a long, long, long time. And now they're still trying to grapple with that problem. So they're more looking towards rental, making some of them into rental properties or other types of things to try to aid their own housing issues. But the thing is, like, I don't want to buy a condo because you're buying the condo and you're paying a mortgage on it, hey, unless you can pay it right outright, which most of us can't. And then we're paying a condo fee on top of it. And then we're also paying property taxes and utilities on top of it.
Yeah.
So, like, why doesn't just a person go buy a house? Right?
Well, actually, I had that question in relation to a friend of mine. She went from living in a house, and her husband died. Right, so she wanted to sell the house that she lived in because he died in the house. He fell down the stairs.
Mhm.
Right, so tragic. We talked about it before. Now, your situation there is that I understand why she doesn't want to live in that house anymore.
Mhm.
She
Absolutely.
was saying, okay, so since it's her alone, she then faces problems about snow removal, which we should know about at this time of year. Problems about keeping the grass clean um, in the garden, etc., etc. And she wasn't much of a gardener. She's not one of these. She's not one of these potter around the garden for the rest of her life type of widows.
Mhm.
That's not her. In fact, she would kind of say she's not very domestic at all. It happens, right?
Yeah, there are people who just prefer to have somebody else do it for them.
Yeah, yeah. But so basically she moved into a condo, and I'm like, well, okay, so she moved into a condo and it's 500 a month on the condo fees. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if she moved into another house, that 500 a month she could probably get free and clear on the house purchase that she got. And that 500 a month would probably be only about 150 a month that she'd spend on keeping the house up to date.
Yeah, think she can get a landscaper coming in to cut the
Yeah.
grass once a week, or somebody to clear the snow every season,
Yeah.
which is about what, 700, 750 for the season.
Yeah.
And then there's also people who do, could help with things like fixing small items like outside,
Yeah.
so that the house stays nice. Hey?
Yeah, and essentially, so what I was saying to her is that you could actually buy a house where even if you were to pay out for top rated snow clearance and top rated gardening, you'd still be paying less than 500 a month
Absolutely.
on
Absolutely.
that.
Because I know people who pay for snow clearing, and
Yeah,
it's really not that much.
yeah,
Because we don't get we get snow like we got right now and what we've had in January, where we get piles of it. Okay? Even though I think the cheapest way is just to invite neighbors over and say, well, I'm going to give everybody snow clearing lessons. Bring your own shovel.
I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Municipalities are facing reduced control over planning instruments and zoning, and essentially, I think what is happening here is that the I get to feel I got the feeling that the province is frustrated at some provinces who are saying, no, you're not changing a thing in our neighborhood. A bit NIMBYism, right?
Niagara Lake's going to have fun with this one.
Well, they're NIMBY as hell, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Not in my backyard, NIMBY, by the way. So one of the biggest questions about
Out to the Conservancy.
Well, one of the biggest questions about why some municipalities want to protect things is that they basically feel that the province is going to step in and make a mess of it.
And they probably will. And
Well,
it's not because the province has ill intentions.
no,
It's just
absolutely.
because the province doesn't know what the politics and the culture and the neighborhood visions are like in each of the cities that they're dealing with.
Exactly. And that's part of the problem is that you're talking about, so you're talking about Park, and this is not particular anywhere around, but Park Street and Fourth Avenue, when they cross and meet, the traffic light there, how many people go through that traffic light on an average day? How many people are going north south? How many people are going east west? If we were to put a new condo in there, in that general area, what is the impact of people going through that crossing? These are all things that a municipality has to consider.
Yeah.
And how can a province consider that when people from that province, even the local MP, wouldn't necessarily know that
Yeah.
corner?
Yep. Or people who are sitting on the committee or people who are making the policies are all in the back seat in Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay. How would they know something like, say, on Niagara Lake or Thunder Bay or some other place in Ontario that they may never have been to?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of the problem that you face with looking at how municipalities are going to respond to this overall. I understand, I perfectly understand and agree with Doug Ford on the need to improve the speed of housing, but I'm not sure this is the right
But
way to
let's
do it.
work with the municipalities. Let's figure out a way together that we can do that and
Yeah.
make it informal. Okay. So that each municipality can develop their own plan
And
on it and then submit it to the province. Do
yeah.
it to yourself first before you start having it done to you by the province.
Yeah. And again, it's incumbent upon you to look, to municipalities to look at accelerated project timelines, what can be put into place for that.
Exactly.
Okay, so across all affected areas, basically, Bill 60's theme is about accelerating development by centralizing the authority and reducing municipal discretion. I'm not sure I like the idea that municipal discretion is taken away. It's already bad enough that nobody votes in municipal
Yeah.
elections.
Can you imagine what would happen if they did all of this stuff? Then nobody will vote.
Yeah, yeah, and
Like, this
that's
is what I mean. You want one person operating the whole of Ontario, like becoming a super mayor of Ontario.
yeah. And this is definitely a problem, and I think has a wider impact when each of these bills and acts that we've been talking about today, have a wider impact. And the biggest one, going back to where we were last week about the Residential Tenancies Act, because that has probably the greatest impact here.
Yeah. So this is things that people have to think about when they're planning these things. Like under the Residential Tenancies Act, they have to make sure that the board is properly resourced to be able to get to quicker hearings. It's not just shortening the time frame. So what you can apply to the board after 7 days instead of 14 days, but it'll still take you the same 3 months to 6 months to get to a hearing.
Mm.
Unless something is done about shortening the period of time before you get to a hearing.
Yeah. And one of the key factors about what we're talking about today is that in order to have residential housing that can be on a lease, you actually have to have the municipal laws in place in order to make that housing happen.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing is, they have to look at keeping your property taxes low enough so that you're not dumping the developer's charges onto the property taxes.
Yeah.
Okay? Because it's not just the homeowners that pay the property taxes; renters pay it too through their rents.
Well, part of the reason for paying the property tax, the development charges that exist within municipalities, the original principle behind it is that you're building a subdivision. That subdivision is going to have 3 streets in it, and I as the mayor of City Tuss, has got to actually consider all the time that I've got to put water into those 3 streets that you're building.
Yep. Water, sewage,
Yeah.
electrical services, all of these services that are required as the rest of the city has.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got to bring those on board with how the rest of the city operates. And I know that what I don't want is your new development flooding the neighborhood, naturally.
Yep.
I don't want you causing a power outage, naturally. I don't want you causing a gas explosion, naturally. Right? I want
too many shortcuts.
I want all of those services to be available to all of those homeowners, the new homeowners that I'm going to be welcoming in,
Yeah.
in the next period, because I love new homeowners because I can charge them higher municipal property tax, can't I?
And then they have to look at the multiple unit residential density. There is a lot of that when that comes out with the taxes that come with that, and how they're building in and have the strain on local resources that could be.
Yeah.
So if you're building a 50-story tower, you're going to have to build significant, substantial resources to service that tower, or else you have flooding, the danger of flooding.
Yeah.
They found that in Toronto. There were areas of Toronto where they've had flooding.
Well, they found that in Dubai with the Burj Tower.
Yep, exactly.
They didn't have enough sewage outlets. Anyway, so if you need to contact Invictus Legal, you can do so on 905-688-5598 or email Angela with angela@weareinvictus.legal or myself using peter@weareinvictus.legal. And weareinvictus.legal is a website, as you can see from there. And we'll be saying goodbye to you today with this thought.
Okay, so what you heard today on Spin Legal, or whether this or in any other shows in the series, it is not legal advice, and nor do we necessarily endorse everything that comes in on but we are just kind of giving people legal information or information on things in general, like Bill 60. So if you need specific legal advice about anything, whether it's about residential tenancies, whether it's small claims, whether it's human rights, employment, whatever it is, you should contact a paralegal or a lawyer who could then give you the appropriate advice that you need. So this is where it's very important. We hope you come to Invictus Legal for that advice. But anyways, seek somebody to get that advice.
All right. And and we'll be back next week with another episode of Spin Legal. And we'll be talking about some other topic, I guess, next week.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, as we always do.
Yeah, we always figure out something, usually 5 minutes before the show.
No, usually I spend a heart-aching 6 hours before the show getting it all ready.
My God, I'm putting Peter to work.
Yeah.
Oh.
I lose sleep over it the previous night.
Oh my God, that's terrible, Peter.
Yeah, it is.
You're being whipped by your backside.
Yeah, I know. All right. So have a wonderful day, everybody, and we'll see you this time next week.
Okay.
All right. Bye.